Margie Foster, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
A pleasure to be here.
I think the last time we caught up, we were probably 36,000 feet in the air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That good old bar on the A3A double decker.
Yep.
You know?
So many people thought it was a corporate jet, but I had to let them know that it wasn't. But what an awesome experience! I think for me personally, I love flying, but I love experiencing great service, and that was particularly good service.
Look, only way to travel is on the Emirates A380.
Hey, exciting to have you. You're the first person actually to be on the podcast that actually has a Queen's birthday honour.
I wonder if it's called King's Birthday now, maybe.
Well, it probably is now. So you have a New Zealand Merit of Merit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that is it a short acronym for that?
Yeah. So QSM, or the member of the New Zealand Order of Merit.
Wow. And you got that for sport?
Yeah, I did, for my contribution to, in particular, to sport, but in particular netball.
Nice.
But actually, I've had a few people just recently sort of say, look, you should be upgrading yourself to being a dame.
Wow, there you go. Oh. There you go.
I probably just because I do a lot of work in that young person space, really, for not just netballers.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about that today because obviously, for people tuning in, you've played netball at an international level. You played, is it 14 test matches for New Zealand?
16.
16?
But you've got to remember that was in the day where, you hardly had tests.
Oh, totally.
So so I say to my son, who's, really sporty, I go, no, that would equate to 100 tests. So he goes, oh my God, Mum, you only played a handful of tests, and then he always takes a piss out of me going, 100 tests, yeah, whatever.
You also, not only a player, but you also coached at the elite level as well.
Yep, I coached Silver Fern's specialist coach, Silver Fern's so specialist coaching, Silver Fern selector, and also New Zealand A coach, which sits underneath the Silver Ferns.
That's awesome.
Really fortunate. I was the first recipient of the High Performance Prime Minister's scholarship, coaching scholarship.
Yep.
So I was given funding, the first recipient under the Prime Minister's scheme, to look at best practice around the world.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons I want to have you on, because you're very good at coaching people, motivating people, and I think business owners. This is an audience that'll go out to business owners, and there's a number of young people listening to the podcast as well, but also older business owners. And I think everyone needs a bit of coaching today. Everyone needs a bit of motivation, And I think you've got some really good insights that we're going to discuss. One thing also, you're also an author and you're a breast cancer survivor, and you're also the ambassador for New Zealand breast cancer.
Yeah.
How do you find the time to do everything?
Well, I've also got Inspiring Woman.
Yes, that's another thing I had down here as well. Inspiring Woman. How do you find the time?
Well, I think you always ask a busy person to get something done, and I feel like I've never been busy, and I've never been the sort of person to say, look, I've got a lot of mates and friends, and the first thing you might say, how are you? And they go, I'm really busy. I don't have that sense of I'm really busy. I don't have that sense of thought.
Nice.
So I just kind of when I've got good energy, I just take on board whatever comes my way.
Nice.
And I've been really much better.
What do you mean by that? When you have good energy?
Much better at just reading my body.
Okay.
And getting into natural flow.
Nice.
I think it's really big, for me, and whilst it looks like I'm doing a lot, it doesn't feel like that, because my energy is good for for what I want to be doing.
Yeah. So what you're doing at the time is natural to you, and you want to do it. So I know this feeling. It's similar when I do a podcast. I know, I feel good. I can leave whatever's behind, come in here, switch on, and I get in the flow of things, right? And that's what you're talking about, right? I wish more people would find that.
Yeah, well, it's got to be about love what you do what you love, and you choose to do this. You're choosing to do this because you love it.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
And
it's not have to.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it.
No.
And so when I jump out of bed in the morning, that's a big thing for me, is to ground myself, literally feet on the ground. And I'm literally just so grateful to breathing, being alive. Yeah. I literally just go, what's in store for me today?
Yeah.
And I get really excited, and I just let it all just come my way. I'm more I'm less planned, although I come from a teaching background, so I feel like I was too like, there's certain things that I plan for, like, if there's a
Yep.
meeting or something, but other than that, the extra space, like, from the space from when I'm with you to
Yep.
my next, gig this afternoon, I'm just cruising, like,
Yeah.
cruising
Yeah, yeah.
in my mind, just saying whatever comes my way.
Nice. Was it like you just tipped on there that you were a teacher? Was it always that way? Where did you start out, like with teaching?
Yeah, I absolutely came from, humble beginnings. We grew up in Linwood, and I went to Linwood Primary, Linwood Intermediates, and Linwood High School,
Oh,
which
wow.
is now called Te Aratai
Yeah, yeah.
College. And when I was young, I remember all of the children coming over to my house, and I used to just do like books and do lines, and then I used to make everyone write the alphabet, and then I used to give them a tick if that was really good, and like, a sticker. And I always thought I'd be a teacher. Like, I really wanted to
Awesome.
be a teacher at a very young age.
And from there, obviously, you went to did you obviously then go to teachers college and
Yep.
all that sort of stuff? So you
Yeah.
went through
So
it?
I went to teachers college, and I was playing for New Zealand at the time. So I studied, and I came out as a primary school teacher.
Oh, wow.
And so my first actual job was down in Aranui at Rowan Ave. It was at St James Catholic School. It was this tiny Catholic school, which I might add, turns out that my husband now, he went to that
Oh,
school.
wow.
Like,
That's
it was kind of cute because
yeah, yeah.
as I was a Duffy books and homes and books and schools role model, I went back to St James to hand out the books,
Oh, wow.
and they got a copy of, Anthony's, enrollment into the school and gave it to me as sort of a gift.
How good.
It was quite
That
cute.
that is good. Like that, and what a full circle kind of moment there. What was the gift that you got growing up that's held you in good stead today?
I think there's a couple of gifts, but I think my resilience,
Yeah.
ability to bounce,
How do you reckon like you grew resilience back in the day? Because a lot of people I know you have resilience, and it was things that they come up against again and again and again help them to I guess that build that kind of muscle. Because I think sometimes today it's not common for people to have resilience.
Yeah, I know, but I think you even like, like it's just getting pummeled, but also like I obviously had a very big determination. I was adopted
Mm.
into a European household.
Yeah.
So I was like this, like, so right from an early age, and I didn't even realize about, racism or like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I was a little like, that, how come you've got brown skin and your brothers are white.
Yeah.
And but my first real, memory of it was that um, my mother's my mum's mum, she wouldn't let me come into her house,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was only a little kid,
Oh.
and, like, she wouldn't let me come into the house, and I had to sit in the car with a bag of chips, which wasn't too bad
Wow.
actually, and then I couldn't work out why I wasn't
Yeah,
allowed
yeah,
into the house,
yeah,
and so I had quite a few different situations where I felt that, with me being a little brown girl
yeah.
in a white community, predominantly white Europe, like, community, that it just by I don't even know how to explain
Yeah.
it. I was almost like, "Oh, F you," and
Mm.
I mean to myself, go,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna
I'm
show
gonna
you,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
show you.
prove
I
myself."
like it.
So I had to
Yeah.
continually
Yeah.
keep proving to myself that I was good enough, that I was that, like, even
Yeah.
in the netball sense, like, when so I took all that sort of, like, I'll show," and I just wanted to be better and better, and,
Mm.
I just kept going. It never really affected me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really sort of see it as some sort of, but I know my environment helped me to shape me
Yeah.
to how I was, but I think I got a lot of determination from being
Yeah.
knocked back, and then I had to just keep picking myself up and not yeah, and one of my mottos is you never give up.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, you give up when you're dead
Yeah.
because, obviously you're flatlining. Life is like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You're riding the ebbs and waves of it.
Your mum, you obviously you said you adopted, and then, uh, like your mum obviously had a bunch of love there because of she already had kids, right?
Yep, she had 3 boys and
Yeah,
she wanted a
and
girl.
she wanted a girl.
Yeah. So she went down. So my dad, who's beautiful Irishman, he was working. He's a wharfie. So I grew up on the Littleton, like in
Yep.
Littleton, and the wharfies picnics were the best memories of my young time. And he so she this is how easy it was back in those days. She just went in. So she was based up in Napier, and she at that time, and my father was my father was working on the wharf, and she just went into an adoption agency on the
Wow.
Thursday and said, "Oh, have you got a girl baby?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Would you consider a mixed blood baby?" And she said, "I didn't care what color
Yeah,
the
yeah.
baby was, as long as it was a girl." And so the next day, she picked me out. That's how
That's
easy it was.
that's fascinating. And obviously I know your brother,
Yeah.
Steve, and that look, I didn't know the full story there, but I find, and but now obviously the mum wanted that. She didn't maybe talk to her mother about it. But from those kind of situations, you just started to see that, yep, you may be different, but you didn't actually care about that. You actually got even more self-determined, which from a young age, that like you started to build that resilience muscle from that early age.
Yeah.
That when you started coming up against stuff, you'd dealt with stuff bigger, right?
Yeah, yeah. So nothing really
Nothing phased you.
phases me.
Yeah.
And even with having breast cancer, like just like nailing it head on, and just being grateful that, like in a nice way, that I was the one that took the hit on the cancer, rather than I couldn't cope with my children or
Yeah.
even my husband.
Yeah.
Like that Mama took the hit
Yeah.
because I'm the strong one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm been
Yeah.
through a lot of shit.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like,
So
bring it on.
that the muscle that you have inside your obviously your mind and in your soul is so strong that you just take stuff head on, right?
Yeah, I literally do, and I think I have all my life, and when I get knocked down, I just find I get even a fiercer determination,
Yeah.
and, just I've had lots of different situations that, like even when I was dropped from the New Zealand team, so I made my way into the New Zealand team,
Mm.
and then I was dropped, and I think that was my biggest, I felt that was my biggest proof to myself that, I can do this,
Yep.
and, to get back in, like it's I don't know, it just sort of like came and
Because to be fair, you were in an era of women's basketball that there was a lot of really good players,
yeah,
right?
netball.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, netball. There was
Showing your age there.
yeah, there was a lot of really good players. Yeah.
Absolutely. There was a lot of talent,
Yeah.
back and they were absolute
Yeah.
legends of the game.
Yeah.
And so, when I was playing, I always had, because I come from a teaching background, I always kinda loved coaching,
Mm.
like, from a young
Yeah.
age. Like, I was coaching lots of
Yeah.
teams, at a very young age, and I just kind of yeah, I just thought maybe, like, and with all of my learnings from being a player
Mm.
and the way that, I was treated as a player, hoping to roll in all the coaching styles and everything that I love the most
Yeah.
out of every coach into my style.
Nice. What is it that when you look now, because obviously you've got a business now with your husband, that looks after young people and coaching, people. What is it that you love about coaching that you now want to you've turned into something that, that provides opportunities for other people, but also provides opportunities for you and your husband?
I think the number one thing is having obviously the people that like that you
Mm.
employ or that are you're surrounded by, because I've taken a lot of my sporting
Mm.
analogies through, like, obviously Gilbert and Oak has been a really
Yep.
big part of my netball life,
Yep.
and um but it's the absolute installing in our people that who work for motivations, is that it just takes one person to believe in a young person.
Yeah, I'd love
And
that.
it doesn't matter if they're not, if it doesn't, like, whoever comes our way, we've got sporties, we've got non-sporties, because, we've got a really cool government contract working with Jobseekers with
Mm.
18 to 24-year-olds.
Nice.
And so these beautiful young people come in, and like for us, it's about being able to be just that one person in their lives that walks alongside them, but actually believes in them.
Yeah.
And they go, you've got this. Come on,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And so it's so rewarding. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It just feels like I love being immersed. Like when I go to work and I see my navigators and our youth mentors in action. It literally like inspires me.
Yeah.
Even like last night at Motivations Netball, my netball coaches and the 40 young netballers that were at the stadium, I was feeling really low in energy yesterday. And I get there and oh my gosh, surrounding yourself by this beautiful energy of the young people. Oh, I went home and I was on a real buzz.
That
And I'm just really, really, I really back the people um, that you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
that are like-minded,
Yeah.
and that they know their role and they're there and they're doing that focus and they're doing their best for where they're at and knowing their strengths. And I think that's a real big thing as a business owner, is working to the strengths of your team.
So good. So good. Lots to unpack there. Firstly,
Waffled on.
honestly, when I talk to young people, and I've coached young people for cricket and soccer and that sort of stuff, I always tell them, hey, I, I need you to know that I believe in you. You don't need to believe in yourself, even though if you do, I just know if you don't believe in yourself, just let you know today, tomorrow, whatever, I believe in you. And I think that's one of the biggest things anyone can do to a kid, because there's so many kids out there that they don't believe in themselves and they end up spiraling. If they just knew someone was in their corner, the world would be a better place. And that's what I've just heard from you as well. Like, it's so important for them to know someone else has got their back.
Absolutely. And also another thing that I sort of get all my mates have pay me out about this. I always see the good in people,
Yep.
and I give people 55 chances,
Yep.
and sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep.
And I've been put in a situation even this year where I've had two where it didn't go. I gave X amount of
Yep.
chances, X amount, and then it didn't go, and then I just have to let it go
Yeah.
like that. Because everyone's going, "Oh, you're so soft," and you always give everyone a 55, and I almost like, and that can be, as a business
Yeah.
owner,
Yeah.
that's a real there's a fine line, because I like to be heart-centered
Yep.
approach, family-oriented environment.
Yeah.
Yet when you're not when your culture's not aligned to it, or you've got some ones like that
Mm.
are dead wood, or
Yeah.
are like just not reacting or being um in the same way, then you have to get rid of the dead
Yeah.
wood.
Yeah. And look, sometimes, yeah, as they say, a dead duck doesn't quack, right? And like, you can do as much as you can, but I just love the fact that you let people know, hey, we're in your corner. Like, we are, job seekers is an important thing. Like, it's a hard environment for young people right now. Biggest unemployment we've had for younger people, in a long, long time. It's a scary prospect for people to
Yeah.
go out there and get a job. And if you didn't have someone saying, hey, you can do this, you've got this, like, where would people end up, and that's a scary place as well. So I reckon it's awesome that you actually have people's backs, because people need that, right? And even in this room here, we have high performers, but they still need to know that someone else has their back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we try to, just, like, find a way. That's another sporting thing. But we find a way, if that way's not working, then how can we find a way for a young person, to get employed? Maybe it is more volunteer work. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, get there.
If you remember, we used to always at school have lots of work experience. We used to have those days off
Yep.
where we'd go around
Yep.
and we'd just do lots of work experience. But now, like, businesses is just this red tape
Red
thing.
tape, too scared to do it, right?
And so, it's being able to set up volunteer work hubs, so then they can put on their CV, and they actually shows them and guides them and helps them to gain a bit of discipline,
Yeah.
to see what it looks like, just being on time,
Mm.
like smiling, just having that attitude,
Yeah.
but being out in the community. We cannot isolate and be alone, because that's one of the things that is a real, like a real, not saying negative, but it can really affect your
Yeah.
confidence, that they need to be immersed. And that's why I love seeing the young people, like, with how we run it,
Yeah.
that they're all coming in and they're giving each other high fives and they're really happy.
Creating a community, right?
Create the community, but also if someone's like, if you and I were trying to look for a job and you sort of thought, oh, this would be a great job for Margie, and then you give it to us and say, hey, look, then we reward, like we sort of say, well done, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good looking after each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Like, that's a cool environment. And so where did the idea for this come from?
Well, what happened was, my husband was, so I was a head coach here for netball, and my husband was owning a swim school.
Yeah.
And I came from being a secondary school teacher. I went back I got asked to swap over, and I was working at Aranui High School as a sports director, and like head of girls sport. And I literally I came off one of the games that we had lost against the Southern Sting, which is they were kind of like our nemesis, our team down in Invercargill, that we always got. We got to the grand final,
Yeah.
but we never really nailed the winning. And like I remember saying to my husband, look, um, I am sick and tired of, like, our fundamentals, our basic skills cost us the game. And he said, why don't you set up a netball school like my swim school?
Oh, wow.
Like, just the foundations, just help young people, building up their fundamental skill sets. And so that's how I started.
Oh, cool.
I resigned, I quit teaching, and that was a big thing because I was away in Jamaica at the World Cup for the Silver Ferns. And I wasn't getting pregnant as well, like, on my second like I only had one child, and I wasn't getting pregnant, and I reflected on the plane coming back. We were world champions, and I was over there with my high performance scholarship, and I was a specialist video sports coder analysis for the Silver Ferns in Jamaica, and we won the World Cup. And I was sitting on the plane, and I just thought, right, that's it. When I've come home, I'm just going to have to make some changes. And so I literally just went into school, and I said, I put my resignation in, and everyone of course, what was the first question people?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Oh, because it is a risk,
Mm.
and it's having courage.
Yeah.
I think to not to know, like because we always sort of think that one door, like one door opens, one door closes, but sometimes you can't. The door won't open unless you've closed the other door.
True.
And so we're waiting, and like people go, oh, I don't want to leave my job because they don't maybe not want to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave my job until I've got something else. But yet, the call to action is a absolute when you close the door, that's when the opportunities present themselves. So just by default, when I set up the Netball Academy, like learn to swim program for netball, I was just my husband and I were just we were mentoring our mates, family and friends, all their children,
Yeah.
like that were aspiring to get into sports, like to be, future All Blacks, Kiwi League, whatever it was, lots of different sports, netball obviously as well, cricket. And so from that, we got approached from Ngā Matawaka, that's based out in Nahoiwha, to see if we would consider being the wild card, being a subcontractor of the NEAT services, which is supporting, mentoring young people, 16 to 18-year-olds.
Wow.
So that's how we started, and I'm very, very grateful for Norm, he's passed away, but his partner Linda Nata, just grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's where we started.
That's
We're
so
subcontractors for Ngā Matawaka, and now we hold 6 government contracts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't get that without some success along the way, right? I'm a massive believer in success leaves clues. What were some of the things that, like, I love this courage not to know. That's, that is like, I wish that for other people. But what are some of the things that you started to do along the way that you started to say, hey, this is something here. We're actually building this here, because it's great to get one contract, but to get six, you're obviously doing something really, really well. Have you ever taken time to break it down and see what you've done really, really well?
Yeah, I think the
And
big
how that
thing.
and how that might relate to the business owners that are
Yeah,
listening.
I think the big thing is, um, like, to find a way, like, to think outside the square,
Yep.
and to not, like, like, if something's not working, change it. Like, and yeah, we kinda, like, have a vision, and if you really go back to it, it's at the end of the day, it's about, like, if you everything comes authentically from the heart
Yeah.
of what you do,
Mm.
it's so easy
Yeah.
to go with the flow on it.
Yeah.
So a natural thing is, what is the outcome? What is the outcome? All our outcome is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Whereas what we want young people into employment. When you really break it
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, keep it simple.
Yeah.
It's what are the, well, how? How do you do that? How? So working back from that how. So therefore we have to create some sort of confident type of program or modules, so then they have a bit more oomph about them.
Yeah.
Like, like, so from us doing our NEAT services, which is not an education employment training, which I change it around
Mm.
and I go SEAT, supporting education employment training, because I find it really, kind of a
Yeah.
little bit negative. So on that, we started off with having our mentors, and that they would have a load of like 30
Mm.
young people each in the city. And we worked on all of the holistic aspects for them. So they were never going to be on the job
Yeah.
seekers, which is actually quite cool and
Yeah. Yeah.
a really good buzz in that respect. So our outcomes, we were very focused on, we never sat on our laurels, and
Yeah.
that's another thing. We always keep striving to, like, to get the best templates that we can,
Yep.
to be the best. Because we come from sporting backgrounds, both of us, Anthony, Olympic swimmer, and me, like, he's an individual and I'm a team sport person,
Mm.
that we were really driven by the outcomes. Like,
Yeah.
no, we've got to have X amount of people,
Yeah.
like, they've got to be the percent, you've got to be in employment, got to be
Yep.
employment. And then we'd really, like, be having to smash it out. Well, why aren't they? Like,
Yeah, so you always started a question. So just to start with, though, because I think it's a really, really important thing to capture. You had an outcome, but you had a vision, like, and the purpose why you're doing stuff. You're getting young people into employment, and then keep it real simple, but also at the same time start to question how, how. And I think that's a really good framework to look at things, because a lot of people will scout, well, this is what we're going to do, but then they never ask actually how it's going to get done or who can help them get it
yeah,
done, right? So they get stuck. Where if you've just kept it simple and keep asking how and who, you can actually start to move this thing forward. Then, like, obviously, because you're driven, you started to dig into things a wee bit more, right? Okay, we our outcome is to get these people, young people, into employment, but this is how many. So you start to become goal driven, right? And then goal driven, you start to work back from that. Well, here's the results. How can we be better? And I think that's so, so important for anyone in business. You should be looking at your performance and you should be going, how can we be doing this better? Firstly, what do we have to do? Who do we have to bring in? Because then all of a sudden you started looking at what you were doing.
but you know what? I reckon that in businesses as well, see, you only look at this when you're failing.
Mm.
And that's one thing that
Such a true point.
you need to be looking and giving that the insight into your business when you are doing well.
Yeah.
Like, like, and keeping it above there. Like, and I think that's a real big thing for my husband and I. And it can be very hard, frustrating for both of us
Mm.
working together. He's got a different
Yeah, I was
way.
going to I was going to ask you about that. How does it go with
Well,
your
he
husband?
works he works like this.
Yeah.
Like that, we get to the same goal, but I'm like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also have to have an element of, which I love. I love the ideas of others, and I like to brainstorm, and I like to be like, one of my things is I like to lead the way. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So you got to be able to do things like, innovation is one thing that can't be defended against
Yeah.
from a
Yeah,
perspective. So where's our innovation? What are we doing that's different? Like,
Yeah.
what's our point of difference? What are we doing what is making a difference? Mad. What are we doing that's making a difference in those particular programs? So, like, when we boil it down, like, as I said about how the reward is a young person finding employment, further education or training, and
Yeah.
being into going and sort of like thinking, well, I've always, like their aspirations as well, like, getting into a meaningful career or something
Yeah.
that they feel that they would love. Because, at the start, when they're coming to us on job seekers, it's not going to be your forever job.
No.
It's just a start.
Yeah.
It's just getting you on the ladder of getting paid more than get paid.
Yeah.
And and taking some of the wonderful skill sets that you need
Yeah.
to go to, and then you work it out in your mid-20s, 30, whatever of what you really truly want to be doing work-wise, because a lot of them come in and they have no actual like, when you don't have a purpose,
Yeah.
or even like find a purpose, it might even be flipping gardening. It doesn't have to be some big purpose, but when you have a purpose, like I feel my purpose at the moment is to be the best grandma, or being the best mother
Yeah.
to my children. I'm quite happy with that. Whereas, maybe in the past I was putting myself at too audacious, like,
Yeah.
like this, wanting that, like, and kind of driving myself to a pulp. But if I look after the things that actually soothes my soul, then I'm good for everything.
Yeah. That's a great catch too. Like knowing your purpose and knowing your purpose at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's 2026. You're listening to this podcast and you've probably heard of AI. So here's what I want you to do. We've created a free playbook that'll actually help you with AI and help your business get recommended. So all you need to do is go to the show notes or the link that's in this video, and I'll send you this playbook for free. I think something I heard there, and out of all of this, and what you guys are really, really good at, and you said it at the start, is mentoring. And that mentoring side of things is a huge part of why people that you help are successful, right? Like, because they have someone in their corner, they have someone who's been going through, or who can actually help them go through this and give them a little bit more of that vision of what life could be like. But at the same time, I love what you said there. It doesn't have to be a forever job. It has to be the job that you get in, because I left school. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I think if most people are honest, there'd be, out of the 1,000 people that leave school, there'll be probably maybe 40 that know where they're going and what they're doing.
Yeah.
But most of us wouldn't have a clue.
Absolutely. And we see that on a daily basis. So, like, it's being able to understand and to know, but and spin it in a positive way.
Okay, so question, what would you say to employers then? Because lots of employers listen to this podcast. What would you say to employers looking to hire young people?
I really like, that's where I absolutely love the two contracts. We've got a community coaching one that we look after their pastoral care, and we sort of mentor them a year after they're actually in the job.
Oh, cool.
12 months.
That's awesome.
So that's a real big buzz. So what works well with employers is them taking a punt,
Yep.
taking a risk on a young person, but working in a line with someone like, like with motivations. We've got wonderful relationships with quite a few businesses out there. And we're almost like got a stable of our 20
Yeah.
that we want to honour,
Yeah.
say thank you for supporting young
Nice.
people in the community, and Phil Major will give out the little award,
Brilliant.
like, just to say thank you.
And what sort of roles do your young people generally go into?
Well, it just depends. But like at John Jones Steel,
Yep.
they can go in at the really low, because it's got 14 different areas. They can just go into where, like, they get whether it's painting, welding, like,
Yeah.
whatever they actually have a first floor at the level entry of their, like, like,
So good.
so a head construction,
Yeah.
it's all in the traffic management.
Yeah.
And so they get trained up. Head construction are amazing.
Yeah.
What a great company they are. Just in regards to how user friendly and young people friendly they are.
Yeah.
Um,
And
they're-
but they're getting young people that are motivated because they've got you guys behind them, right?
yeah,
That's exciting. You can see, and look, to be fair, we need that because an employer taking a punt. If I'm going to take a punt and I've got in a construction company, do I take a punt on someone who's been on JobSeeker with no help, or do I take someone who's been on JobSeeker but now has a program, has help, and is going to get further mentoring? It's like a bit of a no-brainer.
absolutely. And how we got into this, because we were never really working with 18 to 24-year-olds, is that we did the same sort of thing with the 16 to 18-year-olds. And a real funny example was one of the boys, I got one of my mates owns a construction company, and he said, "Look, I'll take on board, I'll take 4 of the boys from Christchurch Boys High, actually. I'll take them all on, to give them a taste." And that was a really good thing. I loved it, a taster of the building industry.
Nice.
So they actually got paid to be there.
Yeah.
Paid, but only not too much, but it still got paid to see whether or not, yes, this is what they wanted to do, and or no, this wasn't. Anyway, he had a direct line to me at the time. So if any of the boys were late, or like, I would go in there, I would pop in every week and visit them all anyway.
Nice.
And he just rang me one time and said, "Oh, Margie, so and so's he isn't turned up today." And so then it's my responsibility to sort it out. So straight on the blower, it was school holidays, and he said, "Oh, miss, I thought it was on holiday." Bored. Anyway, I went, "Get to bloody work," that's how you can speak to them. You have to be just your normal self as well. And I go, "Bloody hell, it's my, it's it's our credibility at stake. And I put your name out there." Anyway, he said to me, "Yeah, I get it." The next day, he gets to work 15 minutes early,
Nice.
and then he shouts his boss a pie for morning.
Smart kid.
So, good boy, well done. And he taps into me late in the afternoon and tells me what he's done.
Nice.
And so then I'm feeling all accomplished.
Yeah.
In regards that, we're helping employers as well.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that employers need, like one of the companies asked us if we could, which I'm only too happy to, but it's about time and capacity of what you can do, which was a good idea. They asked if we could come in and we could mentor their staff that were already there, that
Nice.
young staff.
Yeah.
Cool concepts.
Well, they need it, right? People, they obviously see the environment that you've created and bringing people in. All of a sudden, going, "Hey, we could do with a bit of that."
Yeah, which I thought was a really cool
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
So and in business and in life, everyone needs a mentor.
Everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs a
So,
coach.
a go-to person,
Yeah.
like, to chew the fat with, that's informal. Like, even the businesses, like, when I'm around businesses, I've been their guest speaker for them, in their business for them.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like leadership,
I love it.
things that, at a high level, but it's that connection that, the young people at the lower end, entry-level jobs, but, that's where motivation's kind of like, we just go with the feel, we just go with what's needed. So if someone needs something, we're there. Like, they say, the employer goes, "Look, do you think you could run a module on, for our young people, all our young people that that are employed with us, like on, how to manage, how to manage yourself." Like, we talk about balance in life, but, management of yourself, or whatever the topic is, we just make it work. We just
Perfect.
creatively put it together and go, "Yeah, I can make that work."
Well, if you're a business owner listening to this and you've got young people, like, you should hit Margie up, and we will have the details at the end of this podcast. You mentioned something, innovation. And you mentioned, like, obviously it's important, and what are you guys doing when it comes to innovation? Because I think a lot of businesses at the moment are going, innovation. What are we doing for innovation? And you guys are constantly thinking about that. It's
I
part of
think,
who you are.
yeah, I think from me, from being a professional coach as well, is find a way.
Find a way.
So, and that's good old Sun Tzu, like, that has that the Japanese,
Yeah.
like analogy and really kicks in, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
And I think from the innovation, it doesn't have to be much for innovation. Like, it's like, like doing something that's coming, like, you're working your way through. It's like me walking up a flippin', walking up a mountain, and I need to have a shortcut because,
Yeah.
don't want to take that way. Then flipping, what am I going to do? Is there a bush? Is there something that I can, is there some sort of way that I can pave a way?
Yeah.
Like, and then what the worst case scenario? It doesn't work. Well, just find another way.
Yeah, find a way.
Find a way. So if a young person's sitting on the couch, this is sitting on a couch. Well, what are you do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are they? How are we getting them off the couch?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, so, like going back. So I guess innovation can be anything that is different to what you were previously doing. So it's to be a big thing.
Yeah, true.
It can be like, we try to change up our like our morning team themes, and even in our office, and sometimes we get a little bit like, oh, like jeepers, but like whether or not we're leading into Christmas, and we think, okay, rightio, it's going to be um, red, white, and green morning tea. Like morning teas until on a Wednesday. Now that's when we say innovative. Well, that's something different we haven't done.
Yeah, but it sparks that little bit of creativity. Other things start to happen. More communication starts to be happening because you've actually given me an idea, because we have themes every day, and I think for December I'm going to change it up I'm going to change those up so people are starting to think differently at a time of year which is quite stressful for us.
Absolutely.
That's a great
And the themes, like I work like a big time on themes. Like Razor Robinson used to work for like he ran Motivations Rugby back in the day, and watching him with the young coaching young rugby players back in the day. Wow.
Yeah.
He wore his heart on his sleeve, and he was incredibly innovative and very passionate and energetic. And that's another thing as well, as a leader, you have to bring your A game every day.
Yeah.
We cannot be, we just fake it. Like you
have to bring the energy, right?
the energy.
Yeah, you got to bring the energy.
And I have on my wall, just like, only come into this office if you've got the energy.
Yeah,
I want to stay out.
Yeah, stay out.
So everyone knows I'm like, because I love to bounce in. And I love to just keep, like, I almost like feel like I'm the energizer. But in saying it though, my staff at the moment are just brilliant. We're very tight knit and very like, we can say what we feel and think, but ultimately, you're there. You're there to do a job.
Yeah.
And like, so let's not get all carried away. You don't need to be best friends, that we're family.
No.
I mean, whilst I love the heart-centered approach, I always love being involved in everyone's external activities and helping them with their own side hustles, helping them with their own things. Like I'm presenting, like, well, give that side hustle a go. What are you thinking? I used to have, like, they'd just come in and I go, radio, what's your side hustle idea?
Nice.
What do you want to do?
Nice.
And just keeping them rolling. So, I think, it's being able to have that energy, but being consistent with it, because I know that I just like get flustered. Like, we've got no themes for it. Like, I mean, the morning tea one. But like, I can sometimes dip and go because everyone's so focused on their roles and doing the work, working with the young people, that we just like, I'm almost like the icing on the cake doesn't need to be done because the banana cake's been baked.
True. I personally love themes. Like, so this year our theme is Thrive in 25, because I heard people start to say survive till 25, and I was like, no way. We're going to thrive in 25. We're going to own it, elevate, and celebrate it, because one of my core values, what's retired into the Hall of Fame, is celebrate your victories. But own your role. We're going to own your role. So we looked at the year before and said, where are some of the areas that we could be better? Where are some of the areas where we see there's some issues? One of the issues was people were just going to the ops manager and saying, "Hey, how do you do this?" And it's like, no one was like owning the role, going, actually. So then now it's like, okay, you have to own your role. If you have a problem, you have to bring 3 solutions and have tried one of them, And it's so everyone starts to own their role. Right now we're owning the role. Where are we going to elevate? Where are we elevating? So we're owning it, elevating, and celebrating. Every month we have a monthly champion. It's the greatest thing I think I've ever done in the business is bring on a monthly champion. The coolest part about that, it gets voted by the team members. And I made an instruction to when you vote, you must give reasons why.
Yeah.
So you have 15, 16, 17 people voting for their monthly champion. And then I read out the following Monday when we announce the champion and they get a $100 voucher to one of our restaurants. But I read out what people have written.
Yeah.
And there's people in tears
Yeah.
because
Love
of what people say and feel about other people and how they've seen them elevate their role and why they're the monthly champion. And it's just been like, so that's the theming of that. I think it's important for business owners, and I think it's a way to get people to be seeing a bigger picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm an absolute theme girl. And like love it. Like, that binds everyone
Everyone together, right?
together.
Yeah,
And
so good.
that's and even when I'm talking in businesses, I mention some of the themes. Because Wayne Smith was kind of a very similar style coach, and when I was on my high performance coaching around the world, I hung out with him and
Yeah.
my good mate down in Wales, Steve Hansen. He was a Welsh
Yeah.
rugby coach before I went to the Commonwealth Games with netball. And Smithy, him and I just literally just clicked. Like, we had so many different themes. It was cracking us up that he was using my themes, I was
Nice.
taking his themes. And then I get to Stevie down in Wales, and him and I, all we did was argue. And I'm
Ah.
like,
Well, Wayne Smith was the person I heard it from. That's where I started to learn about themes. I was lucky enough to play for Belfast, and he was in and around Belfast, and I started to learn that sort of stuff. It
Yeah.
was really, really interesting.
It really binds teams
Yeah.
together. Like, we had one that was I had to to get to training. You weren't allowed to get to training unless you worked out what the actual the text statement was, what it meant.
Oh, really?
And so I just sent out the TLOTJ,
Yeah.
and people were like, "What?" And like, no. Like, I was only allowed to answer yes or no.
Oh, wow.
And I would say this: you're not to. You have to work this out, and you have to work out what the key statement in that is.
So that was a
Have
statement.
permission to get to the. So I gave them one clue: poem. After they tried, poem, and then away they went.
Wow.
It was incredible. What happened was,
And
with
why were you
themselves,
doing that? What
right,
was the
so basically it was to connect everyone in the group together.
Yep.
So then if you found out, then you had to quickly text someone else to say, "Oh, look, this is what it is." Right, so then everyone knew because they weren't allowed in. So that there was the law of the jungle. I'll say TLOTJ.
TLO?
OTJ, Rudyard Kipling, The Law of the Jungle. And the biggest quote in that was, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack."
Wow.
And so then they got their wolf, they had a little wolf
Yep.
made up. And so when they came in, they got their wolf. And so they're first in, so they blue tack their wolf onto the wall, and then all the other wolves had to be combined in, because that was the strength of
Wow.
the pack as the wolf. So that was quite kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then and you wolf in and you wolfed out. So so when you finish, so everyone had to take when they finished. So you were together as a pack.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool thing that we used. And then just taking, how does that work on the court? So like just using a couple
Yeah.
really cool examples that how you could,
I love it.
the wolves, get,
Yeah.
like if you're penetrating that skull circle,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
wolves made entry.
Yeah.
Like, and that
I love that. I actually spoke to Tim Bateman last week. He came on the podcast and he was talking about Scotty Robinson Crusaders, the one that they went in 2017 to Durban or Johannesburg, and everything was the boxing analogy from Muhammad Ali, the Rumble in the Jungle,
Oh.
and all their moves were fight moves.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about, right? It's so smart.
It's almost like it's playing a game within the game.
Yeah, game within the game.
And that's where, that they can escape. And
when you've got people playing that same game,
yeah.
very
It
powerful.
still looks after, that process looks after the outcome. We all, you hear coaches
Yeah,
say,
totally.
oh, the process, look, but you've got to be able to light the fire, ignite.
Yeah.
And, you know that you bring out the best in people when they're kind of like really, like the fire's been lit.
The fire's been lit. Talking of that, fire's been lit. You have in a company as well, Inspiring Women, or is it Inspire?
Inspire Me Woman.
Inspire Me Woman. And obviously now that's a movement, right? Like Olivia went and spoke at an event a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Man, there's power happening in this environment." So what was behind that? Why create something else? What do you like? Obviously, it's growing, and people women want to be part of it. So
absolutely, I think that same thing. You support those who support you.
Yeah.
And being able to pick up, to power up, and to have. So every time a woman comes through, with Chris and I into Inspire Me Now, they literally leave with a spring in their step. They leave with a smile and a dial. It's very, very easy to get, to go through. And sorry, it can be very, very tough as a business woman.
Yep.
And probably as a businessman as well. My husband sort of said, "Oh, you should be sitting out in Inspire Me with the men." The woman,
I was thinking of that.
I'm going to, yeah, actually, you can be part of it because he's got some brilliant ideas, and we do the same sort of format, and we bring in a whiskey tasting, but and then we bring in a mental, even a relationship. I'm just thinking for me now, but just even that guy from the Crane Brothers saying, "What's the trend
Nice.
at your age? At our ages?" Like bringing really great info, but in a really cool manner that everyone is supporting each other.
Yeah.
And that's where Inspire Me Woman was founded, because we found a lot of women didn't have anywhere to go, or and it's
Well, they don't want to be part of it.
goals.
They don't want to be part of the business group that you stand up and all that sort of stuff. They actually, it's not networking. It's actually just want to be part of something. I find a lot of people over the years, and I've run a few things, people come for the content, but they end up staying for the community.
Yeah.
And when you create a good community, people want to come back. And I think, from what Olivia was telling me, that's kind of what you created there as well. Good quality content, but there's a real community aspect to it.
Absolutely. And there's no commitment. Absolutely what you said. Like, you're not going to go there and next minute, "Oh, you've got 5 contacts, whatever." Like, no, that's not how we roll. We just roll with really cool women. And another thing that we do is that women share they like literally from Canterbury, they share their own stories.
Yes.
So they're sharing their stories, and that to me is like having just amazing, like some of the women that have shared their stories. Wow, it really picks me up.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, I'm going, oh my gosh, it gives me a bit of a heads up, and thinking, love it. And that's going out like next year. We've been asked to kind of take it around the South Island,
Nice.
North Island. They've got to make time, because I don't want to do things, and we don't want to do it. We do it well.
Do you have like a certain format for it, or is it like you have speakers and that come along, but anyone can come along as far as
Absolutely.
obviously you got to be female.
Yeah.
But anyone can turn up, or
Yep, anyone can turn up. So we've got really cool formats. Like for example, on December the 4th, we've got an after 5
nice
business thing.
after
So
time.
just at the Canterbury Club, and it's from 5 to 6, and we make it short, sharp. It's never rambling on. 5 to 6:30. Always a glass of bubbles or an orange juice or water, and lovely nibbles. And we've got 2 really cool guest speakers, and we just give everyone a real power up going into the Christmas
Nice.
save.
I like that.
and we have things associated with where we are at.
Yep.
And then we have the breakfast club. So like the breakfast was every 2 months at the Canterbury Club.
Yep.
And it's just for 20, and it's whoever wants to come.
Yep.
If you need to pick me up on there.
Yep.
And then we have our big workshops, our Inspire Me woman workshops. So if we're going to Nelson, for example, or Invercargill, we can do
Yep.
almost like
Pretty much
little,
all in one day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I could probably throw some netball coaching in, maybe
I love it.
somewhere along the line.
I love it. So you obviously do that with someone else?
Yep, with Chris Caracco.
Yep.
So she's isn't it neat to be able to have someone that you really value, that your business partner,
Yeah.
that you work alongside, because we don't do it. This may sound ridiculous. We don't do it for the money, because we do it for the love.
Yeah.
So we just literally, we do it almost like on a smell of an oily rag.
Yeah.
But we've got really good sponsors that have come and supported us now. So Forsyth Bar, Westpac's our major.
Yeah, nice.
So they've been amazing, absolutely incredible. Harman and Co. We've got these big players that want to be part of Inspire Me Women. So it's like, how can we grow that model, because we're going out. So that's something that I think 2026 will be our space for growth.
Money is a byproduct of value, and when you create value, money turns up anyway. So you're creating value by creating a community, which all of a sudden there's these people are coming, and smart businesses are going, well, actually, we'd like to be associated with that. It's a bit of a no-brainer that companies want to be part of being around successful women. Because if I had a brand that was associated with successful women, I'd want to go there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a bit of a no-brainer for companies to be part of that, right? Which is exciting. So you started off an oily rag, and all of a sudden you start to grow and grow and grow, and other people start to see, hey, this is cool to be around, and that attracts more sponsorships, right?
And we always make it fun.
Yeah.
And also meeting, I think the whole meeting other women, like-mindedness.
Yes.
Pretty cool, and it does. That's been probably the best feedback, is that, I really enjoyed, meeting other people, because it can be quite tough out there.
Yeah.
But with no commitment. There's no, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I love going. Like, I go to Miami and meet with a bunch of agencies from around the world, but the best conversations are not in the room; they're outside the room later on, and it's so much fun. Like, you meet other people, you meet their perspectives, you hear their stories, they give you an insight into something, and can all of a sudden unlock something else. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being around people. Even what you're doing, you're getting a group of people together. The power of that group, is very, very cool.
You can always nail a lot of things at Aikman's in the happy hour.
So true, so true.
It just manifests, it just comes your way. It's quite nice, just effortlessly.
Yeah. Well, and so it should, right? Like, I think that's part of it, right? People, when they're trying to manifest stuff, they hold on to stuff too tightly, and what you've done there is you've created a group. You probably had to start with, you spent your own money to create that group.
Yeah.
And other people wouldn't take that risk because they wouldn't want to, spend their own money, but you've spent your own time and money, and all of a sudden it comes back and you create something bigger than you, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then obviously other people come in and go, hey, where else could we run this?
Yeah, we want to be a part of this.
Yeah. Which is
Right.
which is awesome.
With
Hey,
these big, hairy, big goals in regards to going over and staying in Rapaki and
nice.
having
That's
and having a South Island kind of seafood, having it done well, and having wonderful guest presenters, and then having wine tasting.
doesn't sound like much fun to me. Yeah.
I'm going to pitch that CEO.
Yeah.
who wants to
Oh,
do that.
totally. Hey, we've been going for an hour. I've got a couple of more questions before we wrap up, but I wanted to talk to you a wee bit about goal setting, because you just mentioned it there. Like, what's your take on goal setting?
You must write it down.
Yeah.
And you must see it visually.
Mm-hmm.
And and just keep the goal very short, sharp. But if you're seeing it subconsciously, it's got to seep in. Goals. I mean, we've kind of I've grown up with SMART, this specific, measurable, attainable, realistic time frame. That sort of goal thing. But just by default, you subconsciously do it. I love the goals where you set and then you just put down as how. And then that's it.
Yeah.
like how? And then, and I think another thing about goals is having a date,
Yeah.
like, because then it calls you to action.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if I put up a goal, like, I want to, this is a lot of things that women say, I want to lose weight. I'm past that now
Yeah.
because I'm in my late, no, not late 50s, but like,
What
that would have been a goal, but now.
one thing when I asked you this question, you were very direct, very like you must write it down and you must see it. So talk to me about the see it part, because I think people get to the write it down part, they don't get to the see it part. Well,
I just think even if you've got it on your cell phone, like,
yep,
we are with our devices
yep.
and, my daughter
So a
has
picture of it.
technology there.
So if you want something,
You
if it,
just have it there subconsciously, like, your goal, like, write it and see it. So if it's even on your screensaver app,
Mhm.
on your
Are
phone,
you talking about seeing the goal or seeing the outcome?
you're like seeing what your goal is,
Mhm.
and also like that spiritual
Yep,
intelligence is working back
yep,
from seeing the goal,
yep,
like as in like exactly what you said. So it could be written up in that
yep,
context, and then it's the how what happens before then,
yep.
what happens before then, what
So
happens
so
before
do
then.
you have to know the how, or do you just have to ask how?
How or you go like um for example, I'm going to the south of France in
Yep,
July. South of France,
yep,
written on chalk, paint on my ensuite mirror.
yep,
So I see it every day.
yep.
Then, what happens before then? Like
Yeah.
that, like
Oh,
what happens before then? What happens before then? And then it gets to now,
nice.
like right here, right
Yep,
now.
yep.
Or I've got to start saving some money.
Yeah.
How much am I putting away? It'll be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
over now.
So it becomes
It's come that,
yeah.
yeah. And it's all like what happens before then,
Mm,
before then, before then. That can be an easy way, even if you did it like a bridge across a river or
mm.
a thing where you've got like you're over here, that's where you want to get
Yeah.
to.
Ain't a bit.
Right. So then what happens, how do you get there? What happened before then, before then, before then, before then, and that's where you are now.
Yeah. So
And so
so
work back from the
so
goal.
it's no mistake you reach your goals because you're actually intentional.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I hear straight away is very, very intentional, because I could see it, your shift. And when you told me, like, you're very intentional with your goal setting. And I think that is one of the key things that where people miss their goals is they're just not intentional enough.
Absolutely. And also celebrating.
Yes.
This is another thing we do not we
Yep.
need to celebrate the small
Yeah.
gains. Right? Like the small steps that are in there. Celebrate to yourself. Woohoo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Like give yourself a pat on the back. We're too hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And also then we become like, oh, I didn't achieve my goal.
Yeah.
But no, well, you actually,
Mm.
just waking up, you did achieve your goal.
Because I think if you set a time goal on stuff and you're intentional with it, you might miss the time, but you can still reach the goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing too. People put a timeline and then they're not being intentional enough. So then don't worry about that goal anymore because that time's going to come. Well, actually step back from that and get yourself back on track. But I think if you're really really intentional, writing it out and seeing it, I know from my experience, I can't wait to share my story on stage one day once I finish this chapter, because I have a box of books this high
Yeah.
written every day
Wow.
on goals, like every day, relentless. And then I started using this thing and I actually got rid of it.
You're enjoying that?
I got rid of it for writing goals because I want to see that book. I want to finish that book,
Yeah.
where this is more for what I'm doing here, but like, writing out every day.
Absolutely. I'm still like a journal, like, a gratitude journal, just having blank pages, and just writing absolute whatever I feel
Yep.
and like, like processing there. But I'm really big on, like the what if it all works out?
Yeah.
Like that whole saying,
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what if it all works out? So it's neither it's neither going into anxiety or depression, it's just in the middle. What if it all works out? That's a question what if it all works out? Wandering around,
How
saying that about 50 times a day.
I reckon that's outstanding, because a lot of people think, "Oh, what if it doesn't work out?" But if you flip that, what if it all works out? What if we hire that next person? And what if we take that punt? And what if we open up there? What if it all works out?
Yeah.
What a great phrase.
Yeah. Doesn't give you negative or positive, just what if it all works out?
I love that. That's probably where we're going to stay. We're going to leave it on that because we could talk for hours. I've got a sense we could actually talk for hours on this. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Where do people get hold of you?
Look, really easy. I'm such a Facebook person.
Yeah, you are.
And I like Messenger or Facebook and my Facebook, but Margie Foster. I love the personal
Mm.
touch. Like
Yep.
I have a lot of people just message me personally on Messenger, which is quite nice. A lot of netball community
Yeah.
throughout the world, which is
You would have
cool.
recently.
Yeah, that's been quite full on. But like just motivations,
Nice.
like we like you need to contact us, especially businesses. We going around, we tapping in, as I said, I've mentioned about how we want to be having a stable of of
Mm.
businesses that are supportive of young people, and they may not have employment for them right now at the
Yep.
moment, but it's not about that. It could be like oh, next year. Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be something coming up that, we'll tap into motivations because we
Totally.
know what work they do with the young
Yeah.
person.
And I also think you should get in touch with people if you've got young people working for you and you want to give them a different perspective on motivation and thinking and how to think outside the square and how to find a way. Because I think, talking about how to find a way, I think that's a great way for businesses to actually talk to their staff. Hey, what if we can, how do we find a way? And maybe having you come along, and I know having you come along would help businesses with that. So getting in touch with the team to see how maybe they come and do some presentations.
Yeah, absolutely. Up
Mm.
for anything.
Awesome, mate. Seriously, this has been fantastic. I know we could talk for hours, but we maybe we'll have you back for round two because I know there's more. There's more that we could talk about. Maybe we'll do a husband and wife. I was thinking about doing a husband and wife edition of the podcast with some people that I know. So that could be another time and place to have a chat with Ants as well.
Yeah, and also inspire me, men.
Yes.
I want you as
Oh, there you go. Inspire me, men.
brilliant.
Hey,
You
this
could
is
be one of the presenters.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. Hey, this has been fantastic. But now it's your job. Okay. You've been listening to the podcast, and I know like lots of people are sharing the podcast because I know we were ending up in the charts. More and more people are sharing the podcast. And I really appreciate that because, I want the information that we're sharing here today to touch more people, to touch more lives. Because I believe you're one person away, one conversation away, and maybe one listen away from making a big change in what you do. Now, I believe the New Zealand business community needs to hear more information like this, and also more young people probably need to hear information like this too. So please share the podcast. Until then, go out there, have fun, take action, and as always, celebrate your victories.